Round one. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry gamers.
Hello, and welcome, boys and girls, to the 160th episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by 8bit.net and those extremely great legends at Audio-Technica. I am your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit. And on today's episode, we have a menu cram full of gaming goodness. We'll be talking Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Euphoria and Crawl, hands-on with Songbird Symphony, cigarettes in gaming, GTA Online's casino finally opening, and much, much more. Now, before we kick things off, I need to introduce my esteemed co-host. She allegedly once beat Hulk Hogan in an arm wrestle. You can find her at Miss Allie Hart. Miss Allie Hart, welcome to episode 160. How you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. Well, since when has Hulk Hogan been relevant apart from his, less than colourful language?
Yeah, he maintains relevancy by countersuing, was it the Gawker, I think? Countersuing them for leaking like a sex tape or something. But he's at that end now where he's just this old muscly, leathery, unhinged man sort of living off his fame from yesteryear and, doing what he can to stay in the spotlight. But
bleaching that beard.
Exactly.
I only really knew him as Thunderlips from Rocky.
Oh, yeah. That was so great.
It was great. The same way I knew about Andre the Giant because of Princess Bride. I didn't get into wrestling till way after that.
The Princess Bride, I know I've harped on about it a few times on this podcast. It is one of the best fantasy films or films of the, that 80s, 90s era of all time. I'm so madly in love with that movie. It's a special touchstone in my heart. So shout out to Wesley and Princess Buttercup and everyone else out there.
Mm-hmm. As you wish. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a sunny Saturday morning here at the Brisbane Hungry HQ. A little bit tired, a little bit raspy. I'm still on the back end of this flu, but I'm doing okay, all things considered. As you can hear from this podcast, the Dream is noticeably absent today, so he's got a few things going on that he needs to take care of. So we wish the Dream and Co all the best. We didn't get the snack size edition of the Hungry Gamers out this week due to a few live things getting in the way, and that's to be expected. But we will have the next snack size episode out well after this episode 160, so we will have an episode 160.5 fun size snack size episode to see you through the week. But yeah, sadly no 159.5 because sometimes life happens and we just got to roll with the punches.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so something you can tell me about. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I am yet to pick this up. Obviously, it's only been out for, 24 to 36 hours now. It's hot off the press.
Hot off the press.
But I'm keen for this, so I'm excited to get your opinions because sort of looking out amongst the gaming landscape, there is some very lukewarm reviews, one might say.
I think they're very valid. I'm going to come off straight at the bat and say I actually didn't really have any interest in this game, so I actually played it based on someone else's purchase. Did local co-op, so couch co-op, and action role-playing hacks / using like a bunch of Marvel characters, and you're going after the Infinity Stones, and it's it's a fun action game. Like it gets you right into it. The characters get unlocked pretty quickly. Like I found that you weren't stuck for such a long period of time, and they started unlocking all different kinds of characters. Like you had your Venom, and then you also had Wolverine, and then you also had who's the other one that got unlocked? But it's all from different areas of the Marvel universe.
Because there's 40? I think there's 40 playable characters or something like that.
It's
a pretty
massive,
pretty deep roster.
And I'm pretty certain that they've already announced something during San Diego Comic-Con about the first downloadable pack of characters that will be released. So they're already have the progress chart going along. In saying that, playing this game, I do not see long playability. I
Okay.
would assume that you could probably finish off the story, and I don't know. I guess maybe you would play it again at a harder level, although I think that's what I was playing it at. The keys, like the controls for it, is very easy, very simple button bashing. I found myself just essentially just playing around with buttons. I will congratulate them on making a emote feature which lets you say well done, acknowledge, yes, no. And as a wonderful player, I just absolutely just bash that throughout the whole thing. So if you give emotes, I will use them, and I'll be a terrible team player. So also with local couch co-op, the camera work is really finicky because obviously they're trying to fit both player 1 and player 2 on the same screen, and they're trying to make them all present. It turns into a muddle. They highlight your character with a coloring, but I still didn't feel like that helped me. The focusing of the camera just like went all over the place, and it bothered me. But when you play single player, it's not so bad. You actually are able to control where the camera is and where it's facing. So
yeah, those shared screen multiplayer games are always a bit hit and miss with how they juggle. If you're sort of quote unquote the lead dog and you're sort of pushing forward and sort of moving that screen with your player, where one of your other squad mates are lingering behind, and sort of the screen either pushes them through or they go off the screen, or it sort of locks because there's such a wide gap between yourselves. It can be tough. It can be really tough.
That is exactly what happened. So yeah, they would either completely, like, I don't know if anyone's played the Pokemon game where you have your little co-op in that. If the character goes too far away, sometimes it will just make them magically appear right back next to you. So, you know, that's kind of one thing that they did to but for most of it, they would just lock the screen until you caught up. And yeah.
Makes it tough. So like there is a pretty deep roster. Who do you see yourself sort of settling on with your sort of squad mates as far as the mainline team that you want to ideally roll with to finish this game off? Because there's a pretty big sort of who's who of Marvel characters from sort of a good guy perspective, and then there's a lot of bad guys like from in the bosses, and there's some allies that you sort of come up with throughout the game as well. It's impressive. They've rolled out the red carpet, that's for sure.
They have, and like I said, like it's a lot of characters from a lot of different aspects of the Marvel Universe, so at least you also have that variety. And I also liked that they also added this element where certain characters can actually do team-up moves. So if you have a cast of certain characters, sometimes if one's using its ultimate, then you can actually combine with it. Everyone has the big ultimate move that they have, and everyone can do that at the same time, which obviously has a bigger impact, but they also have very specific ones where people's abilities can link up. And I thought that was a good element, although frustrating as hell to make that link up. I am currently using Venom.
Nice.
For obvious reasons, a favorite of mine, but also he's a lot of fun to play. I feel like he has the right amount of being like muscle, but he also has like the web throwing, so he can actually, you know, go above enemies, which is actually quite beneficial. I found that with like Iron Man and is it Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch is there, yeah.
So it's like they have the flying, and so does Star-Lord. They have all the flying abilities as well. So, but it has that on the screen where it tells you what their abilities are, if they can fly, if they are like more brute strength, if they're more like if they fight from a distance. So I guess there is probably all that sort of stuff in the background that people might enjoy. For me, though, it was just general, just hack and slash button bashing, non-stop action. So
yeah, like looking through the roster, there is sort of a nice diversity of, I guess, in-your-face based characters, and then you've sort of got your ranged sort of characters, and as you said, your people that would be utilizing flight. Like I like that there's people like Blade in there getting another look. You know, guys like Daredevil. One that sort of made me go, oh, okay, well, I guess it ties into the upcoming movies. They've got Morbius, the living vampire, in there, which is pretty cool. And that's there's a movie getting made at the moment where Jared Leto is playing Morbius, this guy that sort of attracts this vampire-esque gene, and he's sort of an anti-hero similar to Venom. So that's cool. They've weaved that in there, but they've got all the who's who from the MCU, I guess. Everyone that's a casual Marvel fan will know just about every character to play as in this. One thing I found interesting, Ant-Man can be an ally, but you can play as the Wasp. I thought, all right. Well,
You see that article that decided to go into detail about the Wasp?
no.
Oh,
I
you
need
didn't
to find
see that? That went viral.
What happened there? Tell me more.
Oh, just whoever did the review was talking about how sexy she was or how non-sexy she was. Either way, he was talking about how her physical appearance was either pleasing or was not pleasing. But
In the game?
Yeah, the writing was quite interesting. And that kind of went a bit viral around.
I'm trying to Google an image of her right now just to sort of to see.
I think she looked fine.
I can't really find her anywhere here. Anyway, this doesn't make for good podcasting as I try and find a sexy
Google.
photo of the Wasp.
I'm surprised you didn't get more interesting pictures.
If she looks like Evangeline Lilly from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movies and stuff, then yeah, I can understand where he's coming from because she's a very attractive individual.
Yeah. But in regards to choosing characters, you do definitely... I have found noticeable differences in linking it up to what your preferred playstyle is. I think I'm more of a upfront brawler, and I didn't really enjoy anyone that was more of a distance character. So overall, I think this is actually a good game for kids. Like, I definitely think you can put a kid in front of this game, and all they have to do is button bash. There is certain things where you have limited revives, though. That could be an issue. But I think it could be enjoyed from all ages. I just don't... Personally, I don't see the longevity in it, so... But that could just be me. DC fan, you know?
I'm excited to give it a go. Yeah, I know your sort of allegiance lies on the other side, so...
Yeah.
But I'm excited to sort of see what they've done with it here, and I like the amount of characters they've thrown in, whether it be playable enemies or otherwise. 74 out of 100 on Metacritic at the moment, so that's not too badly reviewed, in all honesty. Like... But I do get a lot of like, it was okay. And I guess you can take that as you will, depending on maybe if you are a bit more of a core Marvel fan, maybe that will then elevate that personal review to a higher score from there. So, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the Black Order and sort of the Mad Titan, or Thanos, as he's otherwise known as. And it's pretty cool that you sort of deal with some of the members of the Sinister Six and stuff like that throughout your playtime. So I'm excited to see the story more than anything, because the combat, as you said, it's very user friendly. It's just button bash happy. Yeah, just get in there and run roughshod with yourself or your mates. So
exactly right. And about the only positive thing that I could say that actually came out of it is that certain characters came up and I had no idea who they are. So it actually made me investigate more into the Marvel universe. So there's a positive. You
got to tell me one or two of these characters. You were like, who are you?
Oh, it's going to be really bad, actually. I'm going to have to, look again into the universe because I'm obviously not going to remember their names. But there was, one character. I actually think they did a TV series and it flopped. But she had a dog that was like a portal dog or something like that. And it's actually used as a point where you can change up the characters in and out. So
Yeah. Is that who would that be? She's from sort of the Inhumans, like in the Inhumans storyline.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. Is it the lady with the long red hair?
Yeah, that's her. I really didn't know who she was until I looked it up, and then I saw, oh, that's right, they did that TV series and it didn't do really well, and yeah. And then there was also a bad character, I think a part of the actual Black Order, and she has this cool headpiece.
That could be Proxima Midnight, maybe?
That's her. Yep, that's her. She looked badass, so I'm going to be looking more into her.
Yeah, there's some really cool characters in that world, so I'm excited to get in. This week, I'm traveling with work Wednesday through Friday, but I've got a couple of flights, so I'm going to get this loaded up onto the Switch before now and then and do a little bit of airport gaming. So I'm excited to report back next week and share my thoughts and Ultimate Alliance 3 and see where we meet in the middle.
Yeah, should be interesting either way. You're a Marvel fan or a DC fan? Or you're on
the
line?
More Marvel, but it's slight. I like both universes, so I can sort of try and sit on the fence, but if I had to lean more one to the other, it'd be slightly to Marvel.
That's because of Wolverine, right?
Yeah, and Venom. They've got a couple of really, they've both got any heroes on both sides, but yeah, Venom, Wolverine, just the X-Men in general, I really like like that sort of universe and that sort of cast of characters, especially from being 90s kids. You know, remember the Ultimate X-Men TV show that used to air in the mornings? That show was just perfection. So that really dug in for me. And then I like the whole Spider-Man group and the subsect with the Sinister Six and everything that comes through there and into the other bleeds. So, yeah. But anyway, you can't go wrong either way, depending on which side you barrack for.
I don't know. Talk to a DC fan and ask him about the movies.
So, Songbird Symphony.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is absolutely random. As Switch does, sometimes they offer, little demos so you can try out a game before its release. And this one just looked cute, and it is totally, I can't wait for its release. It's actually going to be released 25th of July. It is a rhythm adventure game done by a studio called Joystick Studios. They're a team of 3 that are making this cute little adventure rhythm game of this like little bird who got adopted by a peacock, and it's an adventure game of him trying to discover where he is and where he belongs. And throughout the game you'll have to do like massive rhythm challenges, and you also have to go through like platformed levels and help people, and then get like little notes to progress further. And it's
the art style is cute as heck.
It is cute as hell, and there's just the simple like little repetition of him like singing and dancing and wiggling his ass because he's a cute little fat little burb. And he's just absolutely adorable. The best thing that I could describe this to is there's like elements of like Parappa the Rapper.
That's the vibe. I'm just looking at some stills in a little trailer, and that's the most immediate vibe and comparison I got from seeing here on the Nintendo website.
It's absolutely adorable. There's no voice work, so anytime someone speaks, it's I'm gonna bring back the whole like text sound kind of talk where it's like so you don't just have to read and just hear noise. So there's no voice work. Like I said, small team of 3 guys trying to get this done, and it's absolutely adorable. So I will be getting this when it's released on 25th of July. It's cute. I think everyone should check it out. Just try the demo. It's free. Download it. I like to hear other people's opinion. I know rhythm games aren't for everyone, but I mean, it's too cute not to try.
Maybe I'll pick this up too while I'm sort of playing with my Switch this week. It looked cute. It's priced at under $20, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a sucker for a nostalgic rhythm game, and I like that art style. And yeah, you got to support them little smaller indie outlets. So Joystick Studios, huh?
Joystick. You can't go wrong with a company that did joystick and steak and combined it.
100%. 2 of my favorite things.
Yeah. No, like I said, free demo. Try it out. If you don't like it, what's the loss?
Yeah.
I just personally thought it was adorable.
Yeah, it looks pretty great. Yeah, so I haven't played pretty well anything this week. I've been fairly off the grid with gaming. Like, done a little bit more Elder Scrolls Online, which seems to be my constant time sink or just sort of pick up and play game at the moment. I'm in the throes of deciding which house to buy of all things. So
wow,
you can own, I think there's about 40 different houses you can purchase in the game now, and then you can furnish them and put your random trophies and achievements on the wall and all this kind of fluff. So I'm trying to toss up if I want to get something more understated and more humble, or if you go the big giant like castle with the dungeon and everything else, or do you go because obviously each of the factions and races have their own sort of certain unique worlds. You have houses that sort of fall into that, so you could have more of like a little Bosma looking house in the trees type of thing, or you could have something in a cave, or a more normal Eastern European or United Kingdom-esque looking castle. So I'm just tossing up where to put my hard-earned money because these things aren't cheap. So it's a very tough decision. I think I'm close to making said decision, but we'll see. Outside of that, I've just been watching a lot of television, watching a lot of movies. So Handmaid's Tale, something I've sort of spoken of loosely here and there. It's nearing on. I think we've just watched the 8th or the 9th episode in the 3rd season. It is still a very dreary, punishing experience. Like, it hits home. It hits hard. The writing's great, though. The acting's great. Anyone that hasn't checked it out, it's like a show. It's a dystopian future, sort of set almost present day, where sort of a religious group has risen up in the United States and pretty well sort of segmented the United States and brought this new country to the fore called Gilead. And they're very devout religion, everyone has a role where women, due to their religious beliefs, their job is to make babies. And so for some reason or another, less women are able to be fertile. So they've just got these fertile women that are handmaids, and all they are is just baby factories. So they're in these respective higher up houses going through these hardships, but like women have no rights. They can't read, they can't write, they can't sort of have high sort of powerful jobs. They're just there to cook, clean, service, and have babies and everything else that comes around it. So it's cool that you see the rest of America and the world still working today as we are right now, but then there's this weird Gilead rising, so they're trying to establish more power and get people in and out, and it's heavy. Like, it's very dreary, and the tone is pretty dark, and there's some scenes that can make you pretty uncomfortable, but it's really great. Elizabeth Moss is the lead. If anyone's watched Mad Men, Peggy from Mad Men is the lead. But yeah, I've been chewing through that, and a show that we've just started this week as well is Euphoria. It's a new show. It's on Foxtel over here, and obviously on just about every other outlet around the globe. And it's a look into, I guess, that high school teenage hardship and growing up and finding themselves and experimentation and everything else. So there's a heavy focus on drugs, sex, alcohol, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it can make you very uncomfortable. Like, Rachel and I are watching it together, and there's some certain scenes where we'll sort of both look towards each other, and it's like, you feel as awkward as I am right now watching this? Like, there's a lot of penises on this show, for one, and nothing against penises. Penises are great, speaking from experience, but like, because these are kids, these are minors, and you're seeing all these quote unquote minors bits of gear on the screen, they hold nothing back. That's for sure on this show. Like, there's sort of rape, there's drug overdoses, there's violence, there's everything, and it's pretty jarring. Like picture Degrassi Junior High or Heartbreak High with like a MA or an R rating, and that's what this show is. Like, it's hectic, but there's an interesting assortment of characters. The acting's really good. Yeah, the soundtrack is great. Funnily enough, like, Drake is a producer on this show, but the soundtrack on this show is like on the money. And it's really, really well shot. Like, I love the camera work in it, and it's worth a watch. But just bear in mind, like, probably don't be watching this with like your mum or your dad or your younger siblings or your kids if you have them, because there's some things on there that they'll see that they'll be questioning why they're watching this, or also what that is, depending on the age. So
no, I can understand that being uncomfortable, because I don't know how many people remember there was a show way back when called Skins.
Yes, good comparison. Really good comparison.
And the thing was, like, it was hyped. Like, a lot of people watched it. I think I unfortunately, like, when I thought, I'll give this a go, and I was in the middle of some episode and some part of the season, and it was obviously something like raunchy, and I was just like, oh god, no, I can't watch that. That's really a bit much. So I couldn't understand where it's like, how is a show about like prepubescent kids getting it on and having drugs and all that sort of stuff? I'm like, how is that so popular? But I guess it is like that. It's important to address, like, the coming of age and all the stuff that kids experience, especially from also like generational point of view. Like, it's different now than it was when we were growing up, etc. But it's just a very, you want to be as real as possible, but then being real as possible is also very confronting. So even though the actors are all of age and everything like that, you're still sitting there going, ooh.
Yeah, it's it can be jarring. Some of the themes, and even just the camera work. Like, sometimes when you watch movies and TV and they show some of these really jarring scenes or themes, they'll shoot in a way where you don't see it, like, what's happening, but you don't. But this is just screen, like the camera is right there, like right in their face or right on their junk or whatever else. Like,
wow.
Yeah, but it's something. It's interesting though. Like, it's a good watch. Like, and I'd recommend it if anyone is into that sort of type of style of show. It's a really slick production. And the last one I wanted to bring up is, I want to watch Crawl at the cinemas.
The crocodile one?
Which is, the alligator one, disaster horror film, which was directed by Alexandra Aja, who has done a few sort of similar films. One of his debut films was High Tension, which is a phenomenal sort of very violent thriller that's worth a watch. He also did the remake of The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh.
If for anyone that's sort of looking for some other source material, but I guess the premise of this movie is a daughter and a father get trapped in their home during a hurricane in Florida, and it just so happens that they're living like right on the edge of a bayou, so there's gators everywhere and there's alligators in the house, and then the rising flood water and chaos ensues. So that's the easiest way to describe what it's about. It's good fun. There's some good jump scares. The CGI work on the gators is actually pretty good. There's some gore in there, but it's not too over the top, which was a surprise because Asia, the director, that's something he's known for. Like he's very much a visceral type of guy. Anyone out there has watched another movie called Burning Bright? Or have you watched Burning Bright?
I don't think so.
It was a similar concept, but it was like a brother and a sister get locked in their house with a tiger. So they're trying to escape this barred up, locked in house with a ferocious tiger. So it sort of plays on those tropes.
Circumstances are just like elevating it even more.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, good to hear that CG is pretty decent, because CG can like absolutely throw you. Like it could be a good movie or good acting, good everything, but CG's bad. It just absolutely removes you from the actual experience. But I was actually curious about this one because they're really pushing the trailers. They're really like they're not doing the cheesy factor. They're not trying to, push the cheese factor. They're actually trying to sell it as a pretty serious movie. So I was wondering if this is cinema worthy or if this is an at-home kind of watch.
I think so. Like, I enjoyed it in the cinema. You don't, like, we didn't get the giant, what do they call it? In whatever the giant sort of high-end cinema is in. You know how they've got the big, like the VMAX and the IMAX and stuff like that. It was just in one of the little smaller rooms. Sure. In this cinema, and there was I think 10 of us total watching it in there or whatever, but it was good. I'd certainly, like, if anyone's a fan of those disaster horror films or just horror in general or thriller movies, want a bit of good dumb fun or like those creature feature movies, go give it a look. I think Sam Raimi produced it, obviously from Evil Dead fame, so it's sort of a bit of a who's who as far as Raimi and Asia getting together on this. But it's pretty good, and I like that it is, as you said, grounded in a bit of realism and reality. It's not just schlocky B-grade, over-the-top violence and whatever else. Like
Sharknado kind
you
of
could
BS.
go, it's like I could actually see this happening in real life. Like it makes sense. Maybe the gators like near the end are a little bit more aggressive than they need to be, but outside of that, it's really 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 well done, and I enjoyed it. It's very short though; it ends pretty quickly. It's only about 88 minutes, something like that. So it's just sort of like a little banger. Yeah, like it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. Check out Crawl. Well worth the time. And yeah, if you can get into the cinema and watch it, because hopefully it might means we get more movies like this.
That's true.
But yeah, that's all I've been doing. I've just been watching a lot of stuff and waiting to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
I'm sorry that I kind of like dampened it a bit.
That's okay. I've seen a lot of that. Like a lot of people I follow on Twitter and things. There's similar thought processes getting thrown around the internet that it's like, yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now that goes, oh, you don't even know Marvel characters. What do you know about this game? And so all I'm saying is the playability factor is just very repetitious. That's all I'm going to say.
And that's how those games have always been. Like, if you played one or two, it's the same thing. It's you and your squad mates roll into an area, button mash some enemies, jump some stuff, roll into the next area that's slightly reskinned, rinse and repeat. Like, it's a tried and tested formula. Like, I doubt they were going to veer too far from that path. So, yeah, I'll give it a crack.
It is what it is.
It is indeed. So a quick bit of housekeeping before we move on into the news headlines. So first and foremost, be sure to rate, review, subscribe us and all the other members of the hashtag 8-Bit Collective on your podcast platform of choice, but ideally on iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you can, because that's where we try and keep things tracking, but also on Spotify. They're sort of the main two drivers, I'd say, for us. So because those reviews help keep those emotional lights on in all of our hearts. And be sure to rate, review, subscribe all the other podcasts that you are listening to and consuming on the weekly, because those reviews mean an awful lot to us. Once you're done doing that, head on over to audiotechnica.com.au. Get yourself the best in audio-based equipment. You need some new headphones, you need a new microphone, you need a new gaming headset. Their new ATH G1WL headsets have just released, which is a wireless gaming headset. And I can say with 1,000,000% certainty, it is the best gaming headset I've actually ever tried so far. And being cable-free is an absolute godsend. No one wants cables these days. You know, it's wireless, it's Bluetooth, it's convenient. And this headset delivers all that and then some. So, audiotechnica.com.au or audiotechnica.com for those outside of Australia. And then obviously weare8bit.storeenvy.com to kit yourselves out in the best gaming merch on the planet. T-shirts, jumpers, underwear, shorts, socks, beanies, caps, you name it. It is all there and then some. weare8bit.storeenvy.com. So let's get into some news.
This week's news headlines.
And the first one, the world is seemingly against cigarettes. And this comes via way of Wesley Yin Poole at Eurogamer. Gears 5 is now a smoke-free game. In fact, going forward, smoking is banned across the Gears of War universe. Previous Gears of War games have featured characters who smoked. COG Michael Barrack, for example, was a chain smoker with an addiction to cigars. And in Gears of War 3, Barrack would hold a cigar in his mouth while you were playing as him in competitive multiplayer. So according to Variety, the decision not to include smoking references in the 18-rated Gears 5 came after not-for-profit anti-smoking organisation Truth Initiative approached Turner Broadcasting, whose E-League esports division has broadcast rights to the game, about making a change. An Xbox representative said the decision was made solely by developer The Coalition. Adding context, the Coalition chief, Rod Ferguson, issued a statement to Variety saying, "I've seen firsthand the devastating impact of smoking. It's always been important for me to not use smoking as a narrative device, which is why we made the conscious choice to avoid highlighting or glorifying smoking in Gears 5 and throughout the Gears of War universe moving forward." So, sort of connecting another loose thread, similar thought processes have come off the back of Stranger Things, where there has been a little bit of outcry through the internets with too many characters smoking, and now we're seeing this ripple through into Gears, where they are making changes to make their respective universes smoke-free. What do you think about this?
What year is it? Like, I just didn't think that this was an issue, especially in an 18-rated game when it comes to Gears. And friggin' Stranger Things was set in a time period when smoking was a very common thing. Like, everyone did it, teenagers did it, and it was just regular, you know?
I'm pretty sure my mum was smoking when I was in her womb. So, like, obviously that probably explains a little bit about me now, but... yeah, everyone was smoking in the 80s and 90s. Like, you couldn't spit without hitting someone having a cigarette. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, I understand what they're trying to do by, you know, not glorifying it, by not having it as present in, I think, things that kids watch?
Yeah, and play, like, Gears. Like, it's an R18 rated video game where there is adult themes of death and loss and a lot of violence and dismemberment and, you know, cutting people to bits, which is fine, apparently. It's okay to cut an enemy arm, cut him in half with a gun with a fucking chainsaw attached to it, but don't you dare be smoking a cigar while you're doing it. Like...
There's
I don't know.
There's other levels of things in there that they say, like, okay, he doesn't want smoking to be a narrative, but then it's like, okay, well, if that's bad, then this whole stupid masculinity thing that, you know, the macho bravado, sometimes that can be quite offensive, but that's a narrative. So, like, maybe you should cut down on that. Like, it's bullshit. Like, I think maybe someone tapped him on the shoulder or someone had an experience and then they're just like, nah, let's get rid of it. And to me, it doesn't change anything. I've seen smoking through my entire life. I've had family members that have smoked quite a lot, and I've still to this day never touched a cigarette because it was told to me, cigarettes equal cancer, cancer bad, cancer death. And I'm like, well, I don't want that. So I didn't smoke.
I'm with you. Like, I've been around it, as I said, from the womb. pretty much. And like, I'm not here chuffing a pack a day and whatever else like my father did. Like, he smoked like there was no tomorrow. But it just seems unnecessary to me. Like, I understand the whole not using smoking as a narrative device, but I can't remember one mission in a Gears game where it's like, we need to go to this abandoned factory and get a couple of cases of cigarettes because the guys are getting upset back home. Like, unless that's getting sort of forced down your throat, a character smoking or having a beer, or like, where's it going to end? Like, it's going to be, you know, all the characters are going to be vegan soon and wearing, you know, clothes free of cotton and silk and whatever else. Like, it's a fine line for them to be sort of dancing, I think. Like, it's nice that they're putting a strong stance and trying to be positive towards smoking, but I wonder how much this is more so on the back of Turner Broadcasting turning around to the coalition and saying, hey, you're going to lose your rights to have your sort of tournament streamed. You're not going to have this money. It's going to be paid by us. Make some changes. Less reliance on the smoking, so maybe it ties into sort of sponsorship dollars and marketing dollars as opposed to
I like, because maybe you're right, maybe that is the angle, because it could be argued where we said that obviously me playing Gears, I didn't recognize cigarettes or smoking being evident enough for me to remember. So then, you know, someone could actually come back at me and say, well, if it's taken out of the game, what's your problem? I think, it's more of a case of like, if there's this initiative with this kind of thing, where else will it go? I mean, we've already dealt with people saying like violence in video games causes people to be violent in real life. And then that kind of got debunked. So then it's like, okay, so kids seeing a character smoke in a game, would that encourage them to smoke? Yeah. I don't know. That's where I'm looking at.
Yeah, it seems like they're just trying to cover hypothetical bases that don't exist right now.
Possibly, yeah.
And the same as like doubling back that whole Stranger Things thing. Like, I saw that go on the internet the other week when season 3 was released, and I was just shaking my head. I'm like, it's relevant to that era especially. Like, they're trying to make these shows be a time capsule and a touchstone for the 80s. And that was rampant and ripe through the 80s. And it was the same, like, watching that, there was never a time that any of those boys like, we've got to break into the mall and get a case of Marlboro 20s for dad or something. Like, there's never any of that. And until it gets pushed down your throat like that, like, I don't think it's subliminal marketing at all.
Anyway, kids aren't into cigarettes anymore. They're all about vaping now.
That's true. Oh,
so
and
this is
so much vaping
uncool.
in that Euphoria show. So much vaping.
Oh, okay.
My goodness.
I thought you were going to say Stranger Things, and I'll be like, someone has to speak to production. Someone fucked up real hard.
Space vaping.
Space vaping. Actually, you know, the other thing that I remembered is that in cartoons, there was a point where, like, Yosemite Sam, right? He had guns, and his thing is that he would shoot the ground and everything.
Yeah, get angry and do the
shoot in the
shots like
sky
this.
and everything. Yeah, and then I actually didn't witness the point where that got taken out of cartoons and when that was like bad because that encouraged gun violence. So, like, sometimes it gets taken out and you just don't notice.
Yeah. I guess with the way that the world is on 24/7 here, and people need to report news, whether it be big, small, or otherwise. Hence why we're talking about it today, like, where it can't really be sort of snuck in through the back door and just sort of inserted or removed. It's talking about on websites and podcasts and things like this. So yeah. So I guess on to a much more healthier topic. We're going to talk about gambling now. GTA's online casino has an official opening date, and this comes via way of Imogen Beck-Helling at Eurogamer. And that casino opening date is none other than July 23rd. So 3 days away, or it's probably going to be the day after this podcast releases, you can get in on this. So the Diamond Casino and Resort will have its grand opening of Tuesday next week, allowing players to gamble against the house using chips in classic casino games such as 3-card poker, blackjack, and roulette. There'll also be slot machines with various prizes and an inside track lounge to watch and cheer along with friends as the drama of virtual horse racing unfolds. In a post on Rockstar's website, the developer mentions the massive construction project on the corner of Vinewood Park Drive and Mirror Park Boulevard. Players have been seen being built in the game nearing completion. More than just a place to let go of your inhibitions and your sense of the passage of time, it reads, the Diamond is the one-stop destination for quality entertainment, high-end living, and a range of experiences you won't find anywhere else. There'll be new clothing and accessories available from the casino store, as well as a master penthouse to purchase, situated at the very top of the Diamond. A must for all the high rollers who want to be able to step out on the rooftop of their infinity pool and into their private helicopter. So, what's going to happen with this? You know, we just talked about how controversial smoking is, and now we've got a virtual casino that people can come and gamble virtual money that they can, I guess, assume to purchase with real money to get that virtual currency in a virtual casino, where they emphasize about them being a passage of time. So it's going to be, you know, there's going to be no natural lighting coming in here. So people aren't going to know if this is going to be morning, noon, or night. We're in here slapping the pokies or playing poker and blackjack. What do you reckon? Because you're the relevant sort of GTA Online aficionado here on the pod. What's your thoughts on this?
I love it because it's like, currently, I say currently, but it's been for almost like 3 years now where there's been gambling in video games like as this, you know, hot topic, and GTA is just like, hold my beer. We'll put an actual casino. But to, you know, counter that, GTA should be only played by people 18 and above, right? It's still an R18. Is it R18?
I think it is R18 these days, yeah.
Yeah. So technically, kids, as they shouldn't be playing it. And you are right. You should be able to buy the currency cards with your actual real life money that will then go to in-game money, which you will then be able to gamble on. And also buy your penthouse, which is very important. In saying that, to focus on this being a casino thing, like, it's like, come on, this is a game where you steal cars and, well, you don't have to run over prostitutes, but it's possible. You can run over anyone, really.
Prostitute or otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could really put a stance on GTA by saying, how dare you. It looks like fun. The casino, I think the actual building has been on location for a while now. It just, the horse track has been there, but it's never really been that functional. So I think this was kind of expected when Rockstar kind of put the gambling in Red Dead Redemption. So I guess they tested it out there and people liked it. This said you'll be gambling against the house. So I guess that's good for some people that don't have friends.
Yeah, that's true. You know, all those solo GTA players can jump in here and play against a virtual sort of pit master or a pit member and things like that. So, yeah, so 3-card poker, blackjack, and then your roulette, and then your slot machines or your poker machines, as we call them here in the AU. I'm curious to see what kind of odds they have this, if it's going to be sort of true to life where you're going to be losing much more than you're winning, or if they will have it maybe dialed up to start with to get these early digital addictions sort of setting in, and then they'll sort of cut back the win percentages over time.
I haven't seen yet if they've actually mentioned with the casinos opening if there's going to be some more story or some additional missions, but they probably will, because why not? New content's new content, and new clothing and accessories, which I'm all about. So I get to go shopping again. Heck
yeah. Yeah, so this game is just a juggernaut, as everyone knows. We've talked about it on and off here for the last several years about how well it's still doing from a sales perspective. The sheer amount of money that they generate through GTA Online is insane. And no doubt they're going to get a nice healthy spike when the Diamond Casino and Resort opens this coming week.
Yeah.
Is this sort of tempting you to jump on at launch of this casino and get in there and slap the pokies, or you're going to wait and sort of get some opinions first from some other fellow gamblers before you take a ride at the Diamond Casino?
Oh, as a person that doesn't gamble, I'm just, happy to participate and see what it's all about. Will I jump on release date? I don't know. But I'll definitely give it a go, because it's new content in GTA, and that always causes for all the wonderful, interesting people to jump back online. So bring it on.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Like, quite contrasting stories you've had there back to back.
Yeah, how dare you smoke? But gambling.
Yeah, gambling is fine, but you bring a cigar into this place, and you're in some trouble.
You can literally smoke as well in the game. You just light one up.
So the next headline. Quake Doom studio director quits id Software after 24 years. This comes via way of Oscar Diaz at GameSpot. So Tim Willits, studio director of Doom, Rage, and Quake software, and Quake developer id Software, says, I've decided to leave id Software after QuakeCon. I've been extremely lucky to work with the best people in the industry on truly amazing games. After QuakeCon, I will announce my future plans, where I am going, and what new exciting things I am doing. Stay tuned. Willits joined the studio when it was still in its infancy in 1995, remaining after the studio was acquired by Bethesda parent company ZeniMax. He's one of the key minds behind the original Quake and continued to work extensively on that and Doom over the years. As well as serving as creative director on the first Rage, he also later directed Quake Champions. So, pretty big news there. Like, he's been a foundation piece at id since their inception, behind some of the biggest shooter titles of any generation. Very interested to see where he goes, but he's gonna be lost. He's gonna be missed, and a big loss for id.
Yes, absolutely. Like he's essentially one of the key people responsible, in gaming history, because Quake is such an important title when it comes to the history of gaming and development. Like, I think I played Quake. I was probably too young, talking about age, talking about the age that, you should be playing games and stuff. But Quake was actually very popular in my family household. Even my dad played it, and he's pretty incompetent with video games, but he loved Quake.
It was very understated, I think, how big of an impact Quake had. And a lot of people I've met have similar stories to what you just did. Like, people from all walks of life. Like, I remember a guy in Sydney, very sort of small town country boy fella, probably in his mid-40s, and he told me that, like, back when he was at uni, him and his rugby union mates used to have, like, local LAN parties with Quake, and they'd actually get, like, on, like, it was that old school, they'd get the old, like, analog handsets and sort of organize group chat via these analog phones, and they'd strap the phones to their head with, like, a footy sock to tie it around there so that they can have comms as they're playing these LAN Quake games. Like, it is one of the definitive first-person shooters, and yeah, Tim Willits is one of the main heads and visionaries behind it. So I'm curious to see what he's doing, if he's stepping out of the industry altogether. Is he going to open up his own new studio? What's going to happen?
It's so weird, though, like, just leaving such a prominent studio. And it's, Quake's doing great. Quake Arena was the other game that I was trying to think of that was actually pretty relevant in my life. You were either playing Quake or you were over an Unreal Tournament as well.
Yeah.
So
They were the rival competitive shooters there for a while on the PC.
Yeah, God, I miss those times when I actually was half decent at shooting.
Now all I just want to do is smoke cigarettes. Curse your ears.
Smoke cigarettes and gamble. Yeah, but if he opens, I don't think he's going to open his own studio. Really? 24 years?
Yeah, like that's a long time to be in any type of job. Like, you see these tenures of men and women in the industry where they've been with a studio or a company for 10, 20 years, and it's insane. Like I love the company I work for now, but like looking ahead and thinking I'll be working there for 24 years, that's a scary thought. And you're losing a lot of your life, so you've got to be extremely passionate about what you're doing there. So it'll be hard for him to step aside from this. So maybe he's going completely out of industry. Who knows? Yeah,
he said he later directed Quake Champions based on how, let's just say, Quake Champions was received. Do you reckon maybe that was a motivation?
That was the death knell, you reckon?
Yeah,
that actually
maybe
forcefully moving him out.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I just don't think it was received the way that they hoped.
It wasn't as bad as old Cliffy B's Hail Mary attempt with that shooter that he had, which name escapes me right now. Can you remember what it was?
Oh God, no. But then everyone said that Apex stole elements from it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I didn't play it. I remember though that there was this massive push that all these online influencers just got access to the game and were just told to play it just to push it even further. So
yeah, so we don't have to wait too long to see what Mr. Willits is up to, because QuakeCon is running next weekend. So we'll either be able to report on episode 161 or episode 162 with what Tim Willits is up to after stepping away from id. But the last bit of news ties in nicely. You did mention this game just a second ago. Apex Legends is dealing with cheaters by matching them together. This comes via way of Emma Kent at Eurogamer. Fancy using an aimbot on unsuspecting victims to climb your way up Apex Legends ranked mode? Well, too bad. as now you'll be thrown into the 7th circle of hacker hell by Respawn's matchmaking system. In a developer update post on Reddit, Respawn detailed how it's been dealing with its cheater problem. Alongside developing auto-ban technology to boot out cheaters, similar to the measures PUBG Corp recently discussed, Respawn has been increasing its resources and undertaking ongoing work to adapt to new cheats. Most amusingly, this includes developing a matchmaking system that matches detected cheaters and spammers together. How delicious. Another area of concern seems to be preventing cheaters from creating new accounts to get around bans, with some players in certain regions on high-risk accounts now requiring two-factor authentication to log in. Respawn also said it's been working on improving detection that identifies and bans new spam accounts before they are used. So I think this is hilarious and fantastic. Like, just lobbies of cheaters trying to out-cheat each other to glory. Like, I think it is the ultimate middle finger sort of meta moment from Respawn here. What do you reckon about all this?
I think it's actually pretty clever because, you know, the whole idea is that it's just like, just ban the cheaters, like find them and ban them. But it's a point. People just go and make a new account again. But if you start like throwing them into matches with each other, it's unfortunate that this has been publicized now, that this is what they're going to do. But if you're throwing them in a match with each other and they just think they're fighting against other people, then that's great. Then they'll never, you know, they'll never have to make another account and then go through the whole process again. They're just going to be fighting against each other. And
yeah, I'd watch that as a professional esports league or something, like, you know,
Ultimate Cheater.
Yeah, Ultimate Cheater. There we go. It you know, practically writes itself to see who can hack better. You know, who can hack their way to the top. So,
could you just imagine though? Like, I'm trying to remember if there is like a replay screen or seeing how you died, and just like, you just like, it would be a quick match though, wouldn't it? If it's like a bunch of people like hacking and they're doing all that stuff where you can shoot through walls or just like auto aimbot, and just like, it'd be the quickest match.
Oh yeah, you know, a tournament could be over in 5 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
Like, you're just seeing guys, shoot through the environment. People sort of glitch into the bottom of the map, so they're underground, everybody, and then just aimbotting around. Or maybe it becomes like this Matrix hack versus anti-hack, where they're sort of dodging all these hack bullets coming through the earth or coming from the sky. And yeah, but it's cool that Respawn are proactive. I kind of had a little giggle when they reference PUBG Corp, because they have been anything but proactive with hackers. It feels like you know, half the player base of PUBG is still just a bunch of hacking dogs. So it's nice that Respawn are on the front foot and they're trying to work out ways to lock this down, whether it be isolating them in their own matchmaking. But I like that they're also throwing in the two-factor authentication. Like, I've got a love-hate relationship with that, the whole 2FA thing. Like, I know it makes you feel a lot more secure, but sometimes it's just a pain in the ass. To have to get your phone out, get a code, finger scan, whatever it might be, go through the authenticator.
Prick your finger, give a bit of blood. Yep.
But the way the world works these days, I cannot recommend that highly enough for everybody to just get about 2FA on just about everything that they're touching these days, because it's essential.
Yeah. The thing I'm interested in is the last part where they said that they're also working on improving detection that identifies and bans new spam accounts before they're even used.
Yeah.
Like, that's next level shit. Like, that is like...
Do you think that's just going to be like an algorithm where they're looking at the email accounts that are signing up? Like, it's going to be, you know, AB 40762532 at blah, blah, blah. Like, they're just looking for weird anomalies like that based off the email sign up, would you say? Do you think that's what they're going to be focusing on?
That could actually be it. Yeah, it could be that. It could be how quickly an account's created, maybe, or in contrast to, I guess the web address. The only other thing I could think of is, can they detect like IP address, or is that probably a bit too far?
They'd be able to grab that IP address too. So,
so if multiple accounts are being pinged on like one IP address, maybe they can just be like, well, that's
just block those IP addresses. Yeah.
It's great. It's a great initiative. It's a creative one. I don't think I've ever seen it before. I hope it works, because I know a lot of people have been losing their enjoyment in Apex, whether it's just recycled kind of gameplay that people are kind of sick of, or whether it's because of all the hackers. I've heard mostly because of the hackers, so hopefully this is a positive.
Yeah, like a hacker just takes away from any good experience in a shooter. Like the amount of times, I haven't really encountered it too often when I was playing Apex, but in talking about PUBG again, like you jump into lobbies, you get a roll on, then all of a sudden you just see this one, Mr. G 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 25 blah blah blah, and you just see the kill list, like there's suddenly 10 guys dead in the space of 5 seconds. Yeah. And then you get one tap from a pistol across the map through a rock.
Yeah,
and you're just like, fuck this. It takes away the fun of the game, but...
That's the thing. You just don't understand. Like, what do you get for it? And my favorite is the people who cheat on stream. That's my favorite. They've actually found people now in, like, e-leagues that cheat. And it's like, how is there not a precautionary, like, how is there no measure to, like, figure out that people are cheating before they even reach these elite levels? And you're shit then, you're not great, you're shit. Like, the whole fake it till you make shit
it
like me
is relevant sometimes, but like in these types of situations, like when you get found out, which you will in these situations, you're just going to look worse from a personal standpoint, but also from an ability standpoint. Like no one's going to take you seriously, and then you get the VAC bans and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see. This is not going to squash cheating in gaming by any stretch of the imagination, but hopefully it's going to allow ESPN to start up, the Hackers Elite Tournament that we can watch in full HD glory sometime in the near future, because I would be all about that.
Sign me up. I'm all for it.
Yeah. So that's the news for the week. Ms. Hart, have you got anything else you want to sort of bring up or say before you close this bad boy down for another week?
I'm actually going to make mention, I've actually jumped back into Splatoon on the Switch, Splatoon 2, and they're actually doing their final Splatfest, which is when you pick a side and then, all the points kind of go to whichever side, and then there's a big prize at the end. It's currently underway, and it is final Splatfest, so there'll be no more after this. So check it out. I'll be playing.
Dusted.
So see if you can find me on the maps, on the splat fields, passing ink.
In the Splatoon turf war? I don't know.
Yeah. See me inking? I don't know. That sounds gross. So,
yeah.
Try it out.
Come watch me ink.
Watch me ink. Hanging out with those Pokemon kids again on the corners. Yeah,
that's it. So, yes, this has been episode 160 of the Hungry Gamers podcast. Thanks for stopping on by and giving us a listen. As I said, if you can rate, review, subscribe us on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, it will mean an absolute awful lot to ourselves. And also be sure to do the same for all the other podcasts you are consuming. But this has been episode 160. You can find Salim at SalimTD. You can find Miss Ali Hart at Miss Ali Hart. And you can find myself at Brendan 8-Bit. And the whole collective at We Are 8-Bit. But until next week, 8-Bit Nation, when we're going to be back for episode 161. Much love.
Stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.